Will, what's your favourite breed of squirrel?
The red squirrel, because they're native to England.
Are we seriously talking about bread and squirrel?
Reel them in with something interesting like Elden Ring, but then you talk about squirrels for 40 minutes.
That's
And
it. You're on Elden Ring, riding a squirrel and beating enemies to death with a baguette. Bon appetit, bitch.
hello.
Hi!
Jeez.
Welcome to the podcast.
We're here to talk about Elden Ring, believe it or not.
This is the content you signed up for.
A new trailer dropped yesterday, which I've only just watched, and Ben and Jonny watched earlier. The first thing that I was gonna ask you guys about is how do you guys think the open world is gonna affect the game progression?
Well, I'm confused about that question because isn't it always kind of been open world?
No, that kind of open world in the sense that you can choose which maps you go to sometimes,
Yeah.
but the maps themselves, even though on the surface of it they seem quite open, actually when you get into it they're quite linear. So for me, this is more of a more of a worry, I think, than anything else. I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first time that in the Souls series there's been an open world game?
Certainly, as far as I know, I've only actually played Dark Souls 3.
So from all the rest,
that was linear.
yeah, they pretty much all follow the same kind of formula. Like, again, they look open world, but actually they're quite linear. Slightly worried because it's the first time doing it, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it would be good.
The way I'm thinking of it is they could do it two different ways. So either each area is going to be pre-leveled. One area is going to be pre-leveled to like level 5, one to level 10, etc., etc. And you're meant to play them in a certain order. Or the enemies and everything you encounter are going to scale with you. And both of them have their kind of like problems. Because, so like, if you go down the pre-level route, the world doesn't become open world anymore, it becomes linear again.
Yeah, that was my fear, is that it's like they're going to be like, oh, open world, it's Dark Souls game, but then it's actually just going to be secretly be linear, and there's loads of places that you just can't go yet because of whatever reason. But then I'm thinking if it's like the pre-level thing, it could be a bit like Jedi Fallen Order, where you could go to that other planet. It was really hard, but you could go there early, and you could get stuff earlier on in the game. So like maybe it's gonna give more replay value because once you play through the game once, you'll be like, oh, I know I can just run and get this item from this place, and it will help me to do this other place. And so, I don't know.
I mean, don't forget that one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is obviously stealth is going to be an option in this as well. So it might be that actually, like you say, you're like, oh, I need to sneak past this bit to get this weapon or something. But I'm definitely excited to see how they do it. I think one of the things that scares me a little bit is just like I was looking earlier. Have you seen the map for Elden Ring?
I haven't seen it in its entirety.
It is massive, and like you know what I'm like. I like to look behind every single corner of every little crevice of these maps, and so internally I'm panicking slightly that I'm going to miss a bunch of things. But I also know that I'm going to play this game through about 100 times.
Oh yeah.
So.
That's the thing. If it's such a big game, it's like, how long is the game time gonna be? Like with the linear ones, there's kind of like where you go and you know how far you are till you're done, kind of thing. With this game, it's gonna be like it's kind of shaking up the system a bit. It's like, how long is it going to take to do a whole playthrough of the game? And then when you get to the end, are you going to want to start again? Or are you going to be like, oh shit, that was long?
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably have the places you want to go to. But I think, I'm just happy that they're going to include a map. Because there was part of my mind that's like, oh yeah, Miyazaki's probably just going to be like, no map. Like, fuck you, go die.
Funnily enough, that was another talking point that I came up with while watching the trailer. The fact that we're going to have fast travel and waypoint systems.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're going to need them.
Yeah.
Because your poor little mountain goat's not going to take forever. He won't have any legs left by the time he gets to the end of the map. Just grinded stumps.
Oh no.
The end of the game is you putting your mount out of its misery.
I was going to say, having a mount, that's so cool. Do you know if there's going to be any other mounts, or do you just get the one?
It seems like it's just the one. I think its proper name is like Torrent or something is its name.
Torrent or Tempest or something like that?
Basically, it's a mountain goat, which kind of makes sense because it can jump up fairly high and kind of last from high falls and stuff. I'm interested to see if I can kill it. I don't think you can.
You'll test it. Yeah.
But I think is it Ghost of Tsushima where you can just ride your horse off of a cliff, and as long as you jump off just before it hits the ground, you're fine.
Oh
But the
my
horse just gets
Yeah.
obliterated. That'll probably be one of the first
I
things I try.
Another thing I've just thought of as well is in all the trailers so far
Hmm.
and all the promo stuff, there's been this weird like four-legged creature with a bell hanging down the middle of it.
Oh, I saw that. I was like, what is that? Like, some weird, like, it looks very Shadow of the Colossus creature with this bell like hanging between its legs. I'm like, that's a bit suspect.
Hmm.
Like, what is this thing?
I'm like, it must be important because it's been virtually every single piece of promotional material that's been released for Elden, or at least in like promotional media.
Hmm.
It's appeared in all the trailers and everything, so it must have some significance. But I have no idea what it is.
The problem is, I wonder how much they'll make clear to us in terms of the story in this game, because the issue with all of the
Mm,
Souls games, from Bloodborne right through to Dark Souls 3, Demon Souls, and so on, is the story's there, but only if you're willing to pick up all the items, look at the description of it all, and like decipher and put everything together yourself.
yeah.
So, for all we know, if you're just a filthy casual playing through the game, it would just probably be a boss or something. But it would be
Mm.
interesting to see actually, like, how much of the story you can find.
I've forgotten how involved he is, but there's George R. R. Martin at least has some influence in the story, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
And also, at least from what I've seen in the most recent trailer, a fair amount of dialogue. I'm not going to say like, a lot of dialogue because there's not. There's like one or two sentences. But like so, in previous Soulsbourne games, it's been very much like you said, like going out, reading item descriptions and stuff to discover the story. I'm wondering whether because George R. R. Martin's involved in the story, where they're going to want to showcase that more and so bring the story to the forefront more.
You'd hope so. Yeah.
Maybe in the trailer that I was watching earlier, the one you just watched, I think, there's a
Yeah.
point where she says that all these different people you meet are all going to have their own kind of incentives and things that they want to do in the world.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping that will be kind of more of what you're talking about there. Like you speak to the characters more and you get more of an idea of their story.
Yeah. Because that
That'd be
that would
nice.
be that'd be really cool.
Mm.
I want to be intrigued by the story, but I'm worried about just playing the game for the story in case you have to dig real hard for it, like with the other Soulsborne games.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the balance they kind of strike between the two of them. But again, it depends on. I think on the surface of it, you're going to have enough. If you're someone who's like, "Oh, this game's got hype, I'll give it a go," and you haven't played any of the other games, I think you'll
Mm.
get enough to be able to say, oh, "Okay, that's like the gist of the story." But then I think for people who really want to dig into it, there'll be tons of lore and little things to explore. So I think there's going to be a good balance for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more of the latter, like especially if they're going to move to an open world. I think it's going to be very hard to make a linear, like cohesive story in that sense. I think it's going to be more of like there's a world to uncover and then there's like a past and little bits in like the item descriptions and stuff like that you find out about, and then you find out, oh, this person from this part is related to this person from this part, or like I think
Yeah,
the linear story is
Mm.
probably not going to be as big a thing. I was expecting them to like do a kind of big shake up with like making it more story linear and everything with George R. R. Martin coming into it. But the more I watched that trailer, the more I was like, this is just another Dark Souls game. Like they call you like was it they call you like basically this game's version of like an Ashen
The
one or whatever it is.
Unkindle one, or
But oh yeah, but you know what I mean, it's like they all sound really similar and like everything
yeah.
sounds like good because people want more Dark Souls. But I'm just like it's just another Dark Souls game, isn't it? So I don't think they are gonna go hard with the story. It's gonna be like more hidden away and stuff.
So
yeah.
two things with the whole like some of this being Dark Souls thing. So firstly, yeah, that's one thing that I did notice in the trailer was there were a lot of enemies and locations that seemed very similar to like at least Dark Souls 3.
Yeah,
Um
Poison Swamp confirmed, everyone, just in
No,
case
no, no,
yeah,
anyone didn't
not
know.
no, 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 not
No?
poison swamp. Multiple poison swamps.
just to really fuck you over.
That's how you
Just in
know.
case you didn't know what game you're playing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You wondered how much more story there'd be with George R.R. Martin. Well, he also wanted a poison swamp, so now you've got at least 2.
That's another thing about like it being like the George R. R. Martin influence and all that stuff. Like, how much ownership does he have over these characters and story and stuff? Because is it going to be kind of linked to the Dark Souls world, or is it kind of going to be like the Sekiro, Bloodborne, where it's like a side companion kind of game, or like or is it going to have like little tie-ins and stuff? As it looks so Dark Souls, it's like why don't they just call it like?
Oh yeah, they could have just called it Dark Souls 4.
Just so I wonder if they are going to kind of canonize it in that sense.
It seems very, very close to Dark Souls, but different in terms of the lore. Like, you're searching for the Elden Ring to become this Elden Lord and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is sort of like a kind of similar thing about, oh, you're an Ashen one and you're going to sort of Violent Shrine or whatever. Like to ascend or what. I can't remember the story that well. I'm probably going to get butchered for mullering the story of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I can hear Ben's rage through the mic.
That's it. Yeah, no, I'm just having a look now. Yeah, he's getting his knuckle dusters out.
Yeah.
Oh, he's polishing them. Okay.
Suddenly, Will won't be in the next podcast.
If I have gone missing, Ben has killed me.
This is where Will actually goes missing.
This is where it's used as evidence.
Yeah, suspect number 1.
Yeah, so there seems to be like a lot of story elements that seem very similar to Dark Souls. It's kind of like they've taken like the story of Dark Souls and given it a different flavour.
Which I'm excited for.
So like,
Lord knows it needs some more flavour. Literally, you have NPCs who just say the same sentence over and over.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dead. Even, and I mean this, like, I love the Souls games so much, but the voice acting is like some of the worst I've ever heard in a game. And I think a lot of people say the same kind of thing. So I really hope that the quality of the voice acting and stuff and the uniqueness of the characters really comes across, because in all the other games, they're all just quite dull, to be honest with you.
I mean, the voice acting in the trailers has seemed pretty decent, to be fair.
So far.
I thought that the main voice actor was the same person who did Evie in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I don't think it is, but it sounds so similar. I think it's just the English accent or the posh accent.
British stereotyping again. Damn it, Jonny.
I know. That's the problem.
I don't know why I thought you said Welsh accent then. It's
Oh,
Elden Ring, set in the valleys.
Set in the valleys.
The valleys. You ride your sheep through the valleys.
Yeah, it's not a goat. It's a sheep. It's not a mountain goat. I remember from when watching you play Sekiro, but watching you play that, you didn't like it because there was such a change in like the mechanics and stuff. Watching that trailer, there's loads of like kind of hints to that game. There's loads of like samurai outfits and stuff like that. There's a boss that like dressed like a samurai. And stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna kind of pull in some stuff from Sekiro? And
I don't know. Not really. I think the stealth element they're going to bring in. I don't think like the combat's going to be the same at all. I think in terms of the combat, that's not the impression I've got, and I really hope it's not, because I hate the whole stamina break system. Like Sekiro is probably the only game that I actually like got right to the end and then just couldn't be bothered to keep going with the final boss battle, just because I really hated the mechanics in that game. So I'm hoping it's more like the Soulsbourne kind of combat mechanics, which I think it is. So I'm not worried too much.
See, the weird thing with Sekiro was I really liked the game before I got into Dark Souls. And then I got into Dark Souls 3 and I suddenly hated Sekiro.
Yeah, you can see why I didn't like it.
Yeah, like beforehand, I was just like, why does Ben hate this game? This game is so much easier. And then now I've played Dark Souls 3, I find Sekiro so much harder.
Yeah. I remember when Sekiro came out, one of the kind of the big statements of the game is like, no, Souls players, if you go into it with a Souls mindset, you're going to have a hard time. And I completely understood that when I tried it out.
Speaking of samurai stuff, I wonder if there's going to be any like stealth ninja builds.
bet.
That'd be cool.
That's one thing that I'm kind of like looking forward to with all these like mechanics coming together is the amount of new builds that might be possible. Like for example, like the crafting system, is that gonna by extension make ranged builds more viable because you can craft ammo out in the field, for example?
I think that would be amazing. Like, I would love to actually feasibly play through like a Souls game with like an archer build or something. But the
Stealth
only
archer build from Skyrim, 100%.
exactly. The only issue is that historically, throwing knives, bows and arrows and stuff, they don't tend to do a lot of damage in the Soulsborne games.
Hmm.
So I do worry that it could be like, oh, cool, I can do a stealth archer build, but only if I want to literally tickle the person that I'm trying to kill.
True, but then in the trailer, they did show a bit of some archery.
Mm,
I wonder if they're gonna like maybe buff bows and stuff a bit just to bring up the level of melee because of the new stealth stuff.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Also, on that point, wasn't there like a dragon that you took out with like just arrows in one of the games?
Yeah, it's just when you want to cheese them to get some souls or a weapon.
So it's like it's doable. You could take out a dragon. Like,
True. Yeah, there's also like a proper dragon fight in the trailers,
hmm
like with it flying around, breathing fire things. So that's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Although I'm suddenly getting flashbacks to Dark Eater Midir.
No, I think I watched someone actually do that boss fight, and it seems, yeah, it's one of those. It seems on the surface of it that it's not that as bad. So I'm really hoping not. The worst that'll happen is your goat will get crushed.
poor
Yeah.
goat.
I'm like, even now, I'm trying to debate with myself as to what build I'm going to try first.
That's it. I think the key word there is first, because there are
Yeah.
so many builds that I'm going to try this game as. But yeah, I don't know. I'll probably go for like a. I think my
don't
first one will be a
yeah.
quality build.
I don't even know much about like the magic. So, at the end of the trailer, it really threw me off at the end because they have this guy with a sword who was then suddenly using some kind of like telekinesis with his sword to like spin it around and stuff. So I'm wondering whether they're going to be like sword magic melee builds and stuff. That could be really cool. Where you're using like telekinesis to manipulate your sword. I don't think there will be, but it would be cool if they did.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think because this year was the first time I ever did a magic build in Souls. What did I do? It was light sorcery. That was really fun once I finally got my head around how it worked.
It took you a while though to like
It did.
find it fun. Lots of screaming.
It's because it's totally different. The problem is like, and again, this is why I love the the Soulsborne games. I've played Dark Souls for years, and it was only like a couple of months ago that I actually got around to doing a sorcery build, and it just forces you to like learn to play the game again. And I love that a game that's so many years old can still today keep forcing you to do stuff differently. Like, I really hope that in 15 years' time, I'm still going back to play Elden Ring and be like, oh yeah, I want to do this and learning more stuff. Like, I expect I will, but that's what I'm looking forward to. It's going to have some longevity, this game, I think.
One thing that I've literally just thought of is, are they running the risk of maybe making the game too big? Like, for example, Immortals Phoenix Rising, where the games have been enjoyable, or like Metal Gear Solid 5, where I've enjoyed playing the games, but they've been so big and they've taken like 100 hours to beat that I just never bothered beating them because they just took too long and the gameplay was just the same for all of those 100 hours.
Yeah, and then what does that do for the replay value? Because that's been a big part of Dark Souls, is like speed running and stuff like that. It's like, how is that going to work for an open world RPG kind of game in that kind of setting? It's like the open world, it gives people lots of options of things to do, but it doesn't mean you have to do everything. And then sink like 200 hours into it or whatever to get to like the end or whatever. But
yeah, that's the thing. I think you'll get out of this game what you put in. I think it will be, if you just want to do a quick playthrough, you can. If you want to go ham and explore every cave and everything, you can. So
I hope it's like that. I really, really hope it's like that.
I say, on that note of like the exploring every cave, it seems like they're gonna put like a big emphasis on like exploring dungeons and stuff like that. Like they had a little bit of that in the other games, but I think it's gonna be more like out of the way because of the open world, I guess. Like that you go and explore dungeons and find like hidden treasures and stuff like that. A bit like you see in like Assassin's Creed and like Tomb Raider and stuff like that. So that looks really cool.
See, the thing I got from the trailer was something completely different. I got
Oh.
like the way that I interpreted that bit in the trailer was essentially you had like the open world, and then you essentially had like the chalice dungeons from Bloodborne, and so like that's how I interpreted it. But again, I could be wrong.
I don't know. I'm kind of. I hope they're worth it. I hope that
Yeah.
the caves are relatively. I think I remember watching some trailer thing. Like some of the caves are easy, some are really hard, and I just hope that whatever you get at the end of them is actually worth it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I feel like it would really undermine the game if there's this thing you could do, but no one gives a shit because you don't actually get anything useful out of it.
Yeah, or if you get like a little story thing at the end that tells you,
Yeah.
oh, this is what this thing was, blah, blah. And like, no, I'm not here to read a paragraph. I'm here to get a cool sword so I can go and
Yeah.
mess people up. Okay, so just looking at the like an article here about Elden Ring, it says that the critical path alone should be about 30 hours. What does that compare to like the other games and stuff? Do you think that's like a good amount or?
Probably about the same. Yeah, Dark Souls 3 was about 32
definitely.
hours, apparently.
Okay, so that seems about normal then.
That seems
I
strange.
think that's just for the main content though. There's probably going to be loads of side stuff that
Yeah.
you can also do. I think that's just for like if you were to play just the story and not deviate from it at all.
No, I mean it seems strange to me given the size of the world. Like how do they calculate that? Like, is that taking into account
Generous.
things like travel time between missions? Looking at the world, it seems like it would be too big to have that shorter playtime.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know. I
what I
wouldn't
mean.
worry about
Yeah.
it too much.
It's just like
Yeah.
the core, just the beats that you need to hit kind of thing, not like an actual immersive experience.
Yeah, that's probably not even including the time it will take for you to figure out the bits to go to and stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's cool. See, it's like a decent size of game. It's not like what was it? What was Dying Light 2? And it's like, oh, 500 hours of gameplay, and it's like, no, please no.
500 hours of gameplay, but only 20 that are worth it.
Yeah. Oof.
Ooh.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah. Shots fired.
We need to get ourselves one of those little like sound decks like they have on like radio shows.
Oh my god, yeah. So I was initially excited for the weapon variety because I saw this like double-bladed sword that you could get. But then having looked at the trailer, I haven't actually seen that many categorically different weapons. Like they've got like a couple of types of sword. They've got like a spear and a bow and a double-bladed sword. But I can't actually remember like seeing any other weapons in any of the things I've seen. And so I'm wondering, like, are they not going to have as much weapon variety, or?
See, I think they are. I think it's going to be exactly like the other games, but don't forget that we've also got the added bonus this time of being able to change your weapon arts. So even if there are a few less weapons, they'll kind of compensate for that by saying, "Oh, I like the moveset of this sword, so let me apply it to this other weapon."
Oh.
So
right.
even though on the surface of it there might not appear to be as many weapons, I still think actually the way that they're focused on depth rather than breadth, I think in this case. But I've still seen your typical Souls weapons. I had to like pause and look frame by frame at a video earlier because I thought that the Foom Ultra Greatsword was in the game. There's a sword that looks deceptively like it, but it's not the same. It's got different markings on it and stuff. And I was like, oh shit, I wonder if that game's in. But the one weapon I will be interested in is whether they have the Moonlight Greatsword, because that features in virtually every Souls game,
I think
even in
will.
Bloodborne. So I'm
I
excited to see where that comes from again. That'll be one that I look forward to.
Going back to the crafting, how important a role that's going to play in the game. I'm guessing you'll be able to craft ammunition for your ranged gear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping at least that's the case. What other things are you going to be able to craft, like additional healing items, maybe?
Yeah, pretty sure. Because you can cook food, can't you, in this game?
Yeah.
I see.
And I think that serves as like a health thing. But I imagine you can also craft like your fire bombs and all that kind of stuff, which will be
Welcome to
really useful.
Welcome to Elden Ring Cooking Mama Edition.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god, yes.
I'm going to do a Cooking Mama build now. That's my first Elden Ring build, Cooking Mama build. Let's go.
Jesus.
Pass me the frying pan, I was just smack something over the head.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think it'd be useful if you think about the other Souls games. Like you're like, oh, this enemy's weak to lightning. Let me just pop back to fucking Firelink Shrine and go buy some. Oh wait, I haven't got any souls. Fuck, let's go back to. And suddenly you're set back half an hour. Whereas I think doing it this way will actually work so much better because it's like, oh, I need this, right? I can just make it, rather than arsing around for 30 minutes. So have you heard about the they've had to shut down the servers for
Yeah. Is
Dark
this
Souls for
the
Dark Souls
breach?
3 and stuff. Yeah. So there's a security exploit, right? Which they found out could happen in Elden Ring as well. So they've had to keep all the servers offline. And I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something like when you get invaded by an NPC, they're able to put code on your computer.
Yeah, it's been in the game for years apparently.
Yeah.
It's been like a known issue, but just none of the developer team has like ever talked about it. Cause they're just like, I'm sure it'll never happen. I'm sure it's fine. And now it's like come out like I think it was 6 months before the release, and everyone's like, wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what?
Oh,
Is
I
this actually
can.
going to be a problem? And now they've actually shut down servers, and like so it's becoming an actual problem. And it's like the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah, they're not going to put them back up, are they? Until after Elden Ring's out. That would be my idea of hell. Like you get invaded by some laggy player, right? And then they manage to kill you through their lag, and then they do that shitty pointing to the ground emote as they load a Trojan onto your PC.
Yeah.
I would just jump out the window.
See, I'd heard a different thing. I'd heard that they could invade your game and they could basically get you, like, your account banned.
Huh.
Even, like, I think it was like picking up an item or something. So it was like you would get banned just because you picked up this, like, hacked in item that another player had dropped, even if there's no way of knowing what an item is before you pick it up, unless like a guaranteed drop in those games.
Okay.
Like the Estus Shard locations and stuff, like they always spawn in the same place. But that's the one that I'd heard, and
I think it's the same thing. So it looks like the issue is like Ben was saying, it's a vulnerability in the system that allows people to execute a bit of code on like the person's computer. So they could execute something that would get you banned. So it could harm people in lots of different ways. So that's why it's such a big vulnerability that they've just had to be like no and pause everything for a bit.
So, funny enough, you know how I said that I was going to move on to another topic?
Mm-hmm.
I was actually going to move on to co-op.
Yeah.
Funny enough. So, it's a good thing that we've naturally wound up there anyway. But yeah, so I was going to ask you guys, like, the thing that I wanted to know is, so in the previous Dark Souls games, the way that co-op has worked is you're able to be summoned into an area by someone if that person hasn't beaten that area's boss yet. So what I'm wondering is, how is that kind of thing gonna work in the co-op with Elden Ring, given that it's open world? So I'm assuming you can travel between areas freely. How is that going to impact the co-op play side of things? Is it going to be that, like with the previous games, you can only like roam around in an area if you're summoned in, if that boss hasn't been defeated yet? Are you going to get kicked out of the game if you move to another area? Like, what's going to happen with that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? Of like the whole like does open world mean that there's going to be like little locked off areas, or is it going to be fully open world? Yeah, that's a good point.
Been an interesting one to find out.
Because I mean, because we've talked about Ben and me doing a co-op Dark Souls playthrough at some point. So like I would love to do like a co-op Elden Ring playthrough at some point as well. Like it's something where like I saw like I first heard that and I was like, okay, yes, I'm doing this with Ben. Like I want to do a co-op playthrough with Ben of this game at some point. I'm wondering like how difficult it's gonna be or easy it's gonna be to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially because like we don't know much about like the bosses in the game either yet, do we? So like, I'm wondering whether they're gonna be like, whether the bosses are gonna be like just wandering around the open world free roam style, where they're going to be confined to specific areas you have to go and like seek out.
I'd imagine they'd be locked off because they won't want people to go and like challenge, defeat a boss if then a later mission tells you to go find them, and you're like, oh, did that. Like, so I think they're definitely gonna have those like locked off if they're like main story bosses as well.
Other things like how's PvP gonna work? Speaking of co-op,
I mean, one of my favorite things now is that you can't get invaded unless you use a certain item to say that you're happy to be invaded.
Oh wow! Okay,
which I'm very happy about because the number of fucking times that I'm like in the middle of this fight with a bunch of NPCs and then some dick player decides to spawn in and
it's the
start
last
getting
thing you
involved.
need.
It's so stressful. But yeah, again, I could bitch about this all day, but it just depends who you get. But yeah, either way, I'm happy that in this game that can't happen unless you want it to.
But the other thing as well is the difficulty, because this is something I've been quite worried about, like leading up to Elden Ring, and it's something I've talked about with Bennett on a few occasions. So we've talked about this when we said like, oh, it's going to be similar to Dark Souls 3 in terms of like mechanics and difficulty and stuff. I am worried whether I'm actually going to be able to play it or not. Whether it's going to be too difficult or not.
No, I think you will. I think as you've kind of found, I mean, you started playing the Souls games like this year? Was it the beginning of this year or the end of last year kind of thing? And within that time, like you've kind of already seen how many different classes you can be, how many different builds you can be, and I think it's just going to be another case of finding what works for you. But the one in terms of like the mechanics and stuff, just jumping on that point, the one thing that I'm interested in is they've got a new, what's it called? It's called a guard counter or something like that now, a new mechanic that they've added into this game. So basically the way it works is as an enemy goes to attack you, as soon as you block it, like as soon as that block's been done, you do a heavy attack and you get something called a guard counter, which just hits back quickly and does a bit more damage. Separate from parrying, doesn't do as much damage, but it's going to be another like interesting little feature, especially when you've got like an aggressive enemy or something. So I think it's going to be interesting, the new kind of mechanics they've got and how that's going to help you kind of shape the fights that you go into. But I think difficulty-wise, I can't see it being different from any of the other games, really. I think it's another case if you'll find what works for you. I mean, you've got a stealth option, so you can avoid combat entirely, I guess.
Yeah.
Or you've got things to help with aggressive like encounters. So I'm excited.
They definitely emphasize that in the trailer as well. Of like, there's loads of different ways to play, and I think especially if they're gonna have George R. R. Martin being like a big way of selling the game, like you're gonna bring in all like the Game of Thrones fans and stuff like that. They probably don't want to make this game too inaccessible for people because they're going to be a lot of people trying. As like this might be their entry point to the Souls universe.
It was interesting. I was just I was reading something a second ago actually. I didn't realize, but Elden Ring is going to have a day and night cycle.
Oh,
so doing
I
like
heard about this.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, so they're going to have day and night cycle and dynamic weather. So if it's like a loud, rainy, dark evening, you're going to do better at doing stealth than you would in a bright, quiet, sunny daytime kind of thing.
Oh, fun.
So it's going to be really interesting about how you can kind of use the environment to help with everything now. But there was
5 skills to use.
Yes, they've got another thing now called Spirit Ashes. So basically, when you defeat an enemy, you can almost use its spirit to help you, like in battle. Like you can summon it in, a bit like summoning a phantom in Dark Souls
Oh.
3. But you can only like summon one, and then when you die, then you can do it again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what, that'd be
So
from like your most recent kill, or like?
I imagine you'll be able to choose between them. Apparently, it consumes your FP, so I imagine after you kill certain bosses or whatever, you'll unlock them, maybe.
Right.
So it seems
Fascinating.
like, yeah, it's going to be really interesting, all these new things that they've got.
Okay, here's a weird thought that I had. Because everyone goes on about like the difficulty, and it's a fairly controversial topic in Dark Souls. Is like, should they make it easier or not?
No.
And yeah, yeah, and Ben is pretty staunch in the no camp. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, okay, now I can see where Ben's coming from, but wouldn't it be cool if there was a compromise? Like, for example, if instead of Journey 1, which is like the first playthrough without any New Game Plus, if in that you started off with a preset build, so you got to play the game through in Journey 1 with, like, say for example, an Ultra Greatsword build with the Fum Ultra Greatsword. And then as of Journey 2, you had to start from scratch. Like, it wasn't lowering the difficulty and making the enemies easier or whatever, but it was giving you an end game build so that you could experience the game first, and then you'd still have the kind of challenge that Dark Souls is known for from Journey 2 onward.
I'm not a fan of that idea. I think
Ben doesn't like that idea.
No, I don't. I think for multiple reasons. I think the first issue is you might be doing that to make it easier, but suppose you're someone who's never played the Souls game with a greatsword build or an ultra greatsword build. Suppose you're a caster or a pure dex build, you're going to make their life hell because suddenly they have to play this game with a ultra greatsword and get used to the kind of movement times and everything
Oh
like
no,
that.
no,
Which
sorry, no. What I meant was like you would have several presets to choose from.
well, that's what they've already got
Several
pretty much.
So you'd have like an end game Pyromancer build, an end game
Nah, fuck that.
4-3 build, and stuff to choose between.
I stand firm by the idea that these games are meant to be hard and they are meant to not be for everyone. It sounds so elitist, but like scrubs won't play Dark Souls. Like it is historically a difficult game, and it's gotten to the point now where that is part of its legacy. Everyone's like, no, these are hard games. They've gone down in history as a rite of passage. So
Yeah.
I think you can't fuck with that now.
That's almost its selling point, right? Is that it's like
Yeah,
it's known
they
as
are
the
hard
hardest
for
games.
people who want a challenge. You know, that's why you play them. If you don't like a challenge, fuck off, is what I'd say. That's what it should say on the front cover. Elden Ring, if you don't like a challenge, fuck off.
Fucking hell. I opened the bloody wasp's nest there, didn't I?
Because if you make them easy, right, people never get that experience. You hear people say, oh, this game's hard, and it's like, nah, but wait till you fought a boss for about 10 hours or over a few days, and then finally you do it, and that you get that like euphoric, somewhat semi-orgasmic feeling of holy shit, I did it. No other game does that, and Dark Souls would lose that if they added in like these difficulty settings. So I would argue that the emotional roller coaster you go on is part of the world of these games.
It's the experience, isn't it? It's like they can't be matched, and if you were to make like easy modes, then people would just play those, and it would kind of remove that. I think they know what they're doing clearly.
Oh yeah,
they've not added any like difficulty modes
exactly,
or anything, have they? So
and they're
they know
very
what they are.
very successful games.
This is where we start Elden Ring for the first time. It's easy mode, normal mode, hard mode, insane mode.
I'd be there with like little anime heart eyes.
I swear to God, I will full on just turn into Deborah Mead and be like, I'm out, and just not play it.
You would. He's got his wig on the side waiting, right next to the knuckle
right next to my pile of money.
So what you're saying is, if there's even like a sniff of difficulty settings in Elden Ring, then you're not going to play it.
I'll play it, but I'll play it on a hard difficulty because I'm not a scrub.
I'll play it, but I'll play it resentfully.
I'll play it because I spent 50 quid and I have to. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the challenges. I'm looking forward to the swearing and slamming and screaming and crying and the the literal blood, sweat, and tears that will go into this game.
That reminds me, I need to put more padding in the living room.
Yeah, I'm convinced that last time I played Dark Souls 3, I fractured my knuckle because I like smacked the table at one point. My hand was in pain for weeks afterwards.
See, I very rarely get that frustrated at it.
Oh, I do. I throw controllers, start smacking things. I get really pissed off.
See, the only reason why I don't is because I'm currently using an Xbox 360 controller for playing Dark Souls and stuff on my PC. I found out the other week you cannot get these controllers anymore. You can only get Xbox One controllers, which are like 70 quid a pop. So I'm like, no, I need to protect this.
I mean, 360 controllers are quite durable. You could probably something and it would still be intact. They're solid, solid controllers.
Who goes, oh, a test of durability is
Got problems. You got
Again,
problems.
I should be on an advertising committee board.
You should.
Again, you
There you
shouldn't be
go.
playing these games. It clearly unlocks some
Microsoft's
sort of deep
new advert. You
range.
pay 70 quid for this controller because it will not break. Here, watch this, the guy says.
Oh my God.
You know, when people like they sleep with a baseball bat next to them in bed and stuff like that. Ben's just gonna have his
Yeah.
controller at the ready.
Yeah. Because like Batman's got his Batarang thing, as I've got 360 controllers.
Oh.
I'm excited to see how different it makes the game finally being able to jump as like a proper intended part of the game.
God, how people talked about this, yeah.
Imagine being able to jump in a Souls game without doing the whole run hop.
How's that going to play into like the battles and finding like hidden objects and stuff like that? Because that was such a like a thing. There was like a bit where you had to like jump up and you could like skip past a whole bit where you needed a key to get in somewhere.
Oh, that's Dark Souls 3. Yeah, the tree at the
Yeah,
top of the climbing
yeah,
troll.
like how like stuff like that. How are people going to break Elden Ring?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
how
I'm
are they
excited for that one
That's
as well.
going to be fun to see.
There'll be
I mean,
someone
open world
down
game.
at like the whole Summer Games Done Quick or whatever, that SGDQ thing. There'll be someone there like, oh, I completed it in 5 minutes because I just jump out the map. Ugh. But yeah, I'm excited to see how people break it.
And mod it.
Oh yeah, Shrek comes in riding dragon, and you've got Donkey.
Where's my brain always go? Oh, mod. The first thing my brain always goes to is Shrek. Yeah, get Shrek in this game. Every time. Oh, they need to make a Shrek game.
They did. They made several.
No, but like
you mean like
high quality. Like, I mean, they love their swamps. They love their poison swamps.
Yeah.
So. Perfect
They just need to have an Easter egg in there where you enter a poison swamp, then just this massive Shrek just comes bounding towards you out of the brush.
Naked.
Okay, you all made that weird.
Run away from the naked Shrek. That's George R.R. Martin's input. It's like, we need Shrek and we need him to be naked.
Oh no.
He's now no longer working on the project.
George R.R. Martin sacked from Elden Ring.
Creative differences, they'll call it.
Yeah.
He's like, where's my naked Shrek?
That's the end of our podcast. Thanks for hanging around and listening. If you like what you heard, you want to keep up to date with all the weird things we're going to talk about, check out all the other videos we've got on our channel. Make sure you like and subscribe, just to keep up with all the content we're putting out, really. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.